All right, so we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. A major update on the Nintendo Direct situation. We now pretty much know when it is going to happen, and it seems like it will be happening in the month of July, along with some other stuff. So if this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button. Without any further ado, let's just hop into what is going on in the world of video games. And the first thing I want to talk about is something that I don't think it's going to ruin the game. I don't think it's going to make it a bad game, but there's been a story floating around about Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, this, of course, is the big single-player experience game coming to us from Nintendo. It is Nintendo's second big release on the Nintendo Switch, right after Mario Kart World, of course, released, and it looks like a really fun game, you know, building upon some of the principles created in Super Mario Odyssey, making this sort of bigger world where you could destroy a lot of things, but at some hands-on previews, there were some concerns about things like the performance of the game. There were some frame rate drops that were noticeable for people when they were playing the game, especially in the destruction style areas. Well, Nintendo has addressed this situation in a interview that was done recently, and I don't really get this answer. I'm not saying that this is going to make the game bad. I'm not saying that this is going to make the game horrible, but the reasoning behind it does kind of concern me a little bit. So, according to this interview, it went as follows. Although in the general game moves smoothly, playing the final version, I have noticed that there are certain drops of frames at certain times and levels. Are you aware of it? To which Nintendo said, several factors must be taken into account. First of all, we have intentionally used effects such as hit stop or slow motion to emphasize the impacts. On the other hand, when using voxel technology, there are times when there are great changes and destruction in the scenario. We are aware that at this time, performance may drop a little. However, as you say, in general, the game can be enjoyed fluidly, and at points where large-scale changes occur, we have given priority to fun and gameplay. And that is a very weird thing to say, because to me it doesn't seem like there's some sort of day one patch that's going to clear that up. And once again, I am not saying that this is going to make the game bad or problematic or something like that. I am more so looking at the larger scope of the situation with this, because I don't necessarily like hearing that there are performance issues in the second game that Nintendo is releasing on the Nintendo Switch 2. When you think about how the Switch 2 has been presented to all of us, like, there's been one clear and concise message: power. Like, they've talked about power and 4K and 120 hertz and VRR and DLSS. Like, they are the ones that are promoting that this is a more powerful Nintendo Switch system with additional features in it. But when your second game that is coming out, we're already talking about performance issues, that's not necessarily something I like to hear. You know, talking about, oh, we've given the priority to fun and gameplay over performance. Well, gameplay and performance are hand in hand. Fun and performance aren't really hand in hand. I don't feel like when you're creating a game, you're like, well, should we focus on fun or should we focus on performance? Like, the gameplay is a part of the performance. If the performance is bogged down, then the gameplay experience then, of course, gets worse. So I don't think this is the end of the world for Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm still buying the game. I'm still really looking forward to the game, and I'm sure I will still enjoy the game immensely, because I can use a new game on my Nintendo Switch 2 that's from Nintendo to kind of showcase what this system is capable of doing. But having performance issues in an early game like this, I hope this doesn't become a trend. Like, I don't want to hear excuses of why, you know, a next Mario game or a next Xenoblade game or whatever the case may be has performance issues because you prioritized fun over the performance. Like, they don't go hand in hand with this. Like, figure out something to sort of iron this out, or maybe scale it back a little bit, because to me, performance and gameplay do go hand in hand. And if a game is constantly having issues or bogging down, and it's noticeable to the point of where, you know, reporters are mentioning it to Nintendo, that's a little bit concerning. But I don't think the game is going to be the worst game. I know there's going to be people in the comments section freaking out, but like, it's just true. You know, when you're promoting a system based on power and all of the cool things that it can do, when the second game comes out, and you're talking about performance issues, that's a little bit concerning to me. I just hope this doesn't become a trend. If this is just a one-off thing, fine, but don't make this a trend. You know, I want to see more 4K games. I want to see more games that have 120 hertz refresh rates when in handheld mode or in docked mode, and there's like a different resolution you do on your TV because it doesn't do 4K 120. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see limits pushed, not performance issues because of a stylistic choice that you decided to do with this game, and then you decided that fun was more important than performance, even though that's like saying, you know, I don't even know. I can't even think of like a bad analogy for that. Like, that's how bad that analogy is. But moving along. Let me know what you think of this in the comments section down below. Does this kind of concern you? Do you think that this could be a problematic thing? Or are you hopeful this is just a one-off thing? And I'm sure there'll be people, I didn't even notice it. But I don't know, man. If the journos are noticing it, that's a little concerning to me. Moving along, though, we do have some major updates on various topics such as Nintendo Directs, because as you guys are aware, I'm a bit leery when it comes to certain people talking about Nintendo Directs, because I feel like, you know, they're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But there is one source when it comes to this information that I do trust, and that is, of course, Nathaniel the Hadiel, or as you people know him, Nate the Hate. Now, Nate the Hate and MBG put out a brand new podcast episode this morning. I'll have a link to it in the description box down below. Make sure you guys go check it out. It is a very good listen, because there are lots of topics talked about in this that are things that I have been bringing up that they are pretty much confirming my concerns with this. You know, a lack of development kits out there. Why aren't games getting announced for the Nintendo Switch 2? Why does it seem like, you know, we got the games that were in the Direct presentation and those are the only games we've really gotten updates on? There hasn't been like third-party companies announcing new stuff for it. You know, at the Summer Games Fest and all of these different events, there weren't any Nintendo Switch 2 logos. They break down all of that stuff and kind of talk about what is happening behind the scenes with it, and I think that's very important information to get out there. So make sure you guys go listen to that. But of course, everyone is looking for a Nintendo Direct, and according to Nate, and Nate is someone I trust, there is going to be a Nintendo Direct in the month of July. Now, it won't be happening this week because of the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza, the game that sometimes has performance issues, but they will be doing a Direct after that in the month of July. He doesn't know an exact date. He doesn't know an exact type of Nintendo Direct as well, because there is some speculation that it could be a third-party Nintendo Direct, like a third-party partner showcase. I don't quite know about that, because I do feel like, you know, you have to start lining up the holiday stuff as far as, you know, what games are coming out and when they're coming out. But I guess they could technically do a September Nintendo Direct where they sort of outline all that stuff, but then they would potentially not have a game for September. But there are some games that are coming out this year, allegedly, that do need release dates. Your Metroid Prime 4s, your Kirby Air Riders, your Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, stuff like that. Now, there is a Pokemon Presents presentation, PPP, a lot of alliteration there, happening next week, as we know. I don't feel like that necessarily plays a huge role, though, because Pokemon Presents, like, yeah, they talk about video games, kind of, but it's more so of like, here's some new plushies, here's some mobile game, here's a new movie or a cartoon. Like, video games are not necessarily the focus of that. Now, they do showcase video games, so you can show off some stuff with Pokemon Legends ZA and, you know, show that game off or whatever. But I'm definitely more interested in, like, okay, where are the third-party games? Because I feel like third-party companies have been holding back a lot of titles. You know, when you look at the companies that were present during the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, where they did the partner previews and stuff like that, you know, there was 2 segments of that show where they showcased third-party games. Those are the same partner previews that we saw. You know, those same companies were in the Switch 1 initial Direct. So there's obviously, you know, 2K, Capcom, Bandai Namco, stuff like that. Like, there's obviously working relationships with those companies in place where they kind of get first dibs on announcements and stuff like that, which is very bizarre in and of itself, because it does seem like there is a hierarchy system as far as, you know, who gets to talk about their games and who doesn't get to talk about their games, when I feel like everyone should just be able to talk about their games, but I guess maybe they don't want, you know, an oversaturation of titles. But I would rather have too many games to pick from than, you know, just select games that have already been talked about. And obviously some of these games are ready to go. WWE 2K25 for the Nintendo Switch 2 was kind of completely out of nowhere. And then they announced that, hey, it's coming out in July, at the end of July. So I feel like there are a lot of games ready to go. And that's going to kind of bolster a lot of the holiday lineup when it comes to what Nintendo is doing with the Switch 2, because I want to see more games, man. I want to see some of these Resident Evil games. You know, I'm very curious to see how the RE engine runs with a Resident Evil game as opposed to a, you know, Street Fighter game, but we've already seen great things out of the RE engine on the Switch 2. So it does appear that after Donkey Kong Bonanza releases, a Nintendo Direct will be happening. Will be a partner showcase, this, that, or the other. I don't know. Nate doesn't know, but Nate knows a lot of things. Like I said, I have a link to his podcast in the description box down below. It's chock full of good information, man. Like the rollout of these dev kits is kind of spooky to me. I don't like it. It kind of goes along with the weird thing that we heard about from, God, was it Insider Gaming, who said that there was like a rollout phase that was going to be happening with Switch 2 games where, like, you know, there was going to be priority. And it does seem like there was actually something to that. Maybe not as drastic as they made it out to be, but there's definitely something to that, because I feel like a lot of companies have been completely silent on this system when they have games potentially ready to go for it, you know. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on how all of that is going to play out. And that's what I got for you guys today. So, you know, some interesting stuff here. Like I've said, just to clarify, because I don't want to be clipped out of context or anything like that, I don't think Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be a bad game. I'm more concerned about the fact that we're talking about performance issues in first-party games on the second game released. I'm not counting Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. That's not a game. It's an instruction manual that they're charging you $10 for. I am talking about from the perspective of this is the second game that's coming out, and there's already talk about performance issues when your whole marketing has been about power. And the Nintendo Direct, good. You know, bring it on, man. Bring it on. I like seeing games. I like seeing more games. You know, I don't think Pokemon Presents presentation needs to be, you know, the only thing that happens in July. Let's get this ball rolling, man. You know, momentum is very high right now for the Switch 2. And so you might as well capitalize on it. Let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below, though. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.